Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this narration of the web series The Survivor Becomes a Dungeon, taken from Royal Road. If you are new to this series, there is a playlist listed in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 25. Jack Point of View. The expressions on the people's faces were just priceless for Jack, and it was all thanks to Gurley. He was perched in a tree nearby as Basti and her cubs strolled into the camp. Basti, for one, greeted Org as the girl approached, the little girl coming up and hugging the adult prowler's neck before approaching the cubs. The black-furred cub was more privy to the situation as he slinked off around the other side of Basti, whereas the little girl just stupefied the other three cubs. The three continuously looked over at Basti worriedly, as they were handled in a way they'd never been before. After a bit, the rest of the group started meandering over, mainly to watch the situation. However, the kids of the group approached, thanks to Org, diffusing any tension that might have been there. Zassiter stood, pushing up from the seated position, with his hands on his knees before glancing at Vertissa. "Let's talk later," he offered, wanting to make sure that she wasn't ignored before walking over to Basti with a smile on his face. "Good morning, Executioner Beast. Thank you for visiting us. What brings you here?" he asked, curiously. Basti chattered and murred in response, carrying a conversation in her untranslated tongue. Zassiter nodded in response as if they were perfectly understood, throwing a few side words in confirmation of, "Oh, really?" and things like that before looking at the others. "She's come to socialize her kids and is seeking permission to allow them to wander our camp and interact with us." The rest of the group looked at each other curiously, unsure what to make of the situation. However, that's when Jack decided to speak up. "Come on then, they're just kids. Let them get to know you. They'll be the ones guarding you on the days go on." The members of the camp closest to the tree he was perched on had certainly jumped with surprise. However, they looked the cubs over with a new appreciation. It wasn't long until murmurs turned into sounds of agreement as they began dispersing. Zassiter turned to look at Basti with a smile as he nodded. "Our home is open to you and your family, Basti. Feel free to come and go as you like." Basti, in turn, murs with a nod as she looked to her kids, which were in the form of bliss as they were pet and doted on in the way that they'd never experienced. The black-furred cub was admittedly standoffish about it and slinked into his mother's shadow for the time being. However, the white-furred cub was into it, being the most socially adept and managing to wrangle the most throat scratches from the kids. Even some of the adults came over, watching the cubs and Basti with understanding that these were potentially powerful beasts. But even they couldn't resist how cute they were. Though even as Jack watched over the situation from his perch, he got the feeling that someone was watching him. Looking around, he spotted the dwarf woman anxiously shifting side to side, not exactly sure of herself, with his attention sufficiently grabbed. He flitted over and landed on the ground before her. "Yes? Do you need something?" Sylvia smiled a bit as she nodded. I realized I did not properly thank you for saving my daughter. I meant it, thank you. I understand you've only been what you are for less than a week, yet you already have more compassion than most people." Jack's feathers floofed up, certainly not accustomed to such praise and attention as he averted his gaze. "Yeah, well, there was a kid in trouble. What kind of bastard would ignore that?" Sylvia smiled as she got down on her knees and gently patted Jack's head. Currently, he was too flustered to be annoyed. At this, he could also feel the ground tremble slightly beneath his claws, twisting slightly, just in time to see Org rush up to him. "Jackie!" she cried out in enthusiasm as she scooped up the bird, much to his surprise, and Sylvia chuckled at the view. Jack was uncomfortable, but he didn't fight it. His wings unfurled in the imitation of a hug as he flapped his left wing to mimic patting her shoulder, All right, girlie. That's enough. Set me down now. Thankfully, Org didn't insist on hugging him for too long. Jack flitted away onto the ground again and ruffled his feathers. We have something for you, Sylvia said a little nervously, her hands fiddling together in an uncharacteristic amount of shyness for a usually confident and stalwart woman. Though it seems Org was happy to pick up the slack. We made you a banana, she gushed, Sylvia smiling some more as she watched her daughter open up more. The usually shy little girl was spoken more in the past several days than in the rest of her life so far. Jack was confused, looking to Sylvia for clarification, which she was happy to offer. It's a simple thing, really, but Org really helped out in making it. It's a bandana, she explained as she pulled out a piece of canvas that had been dyed red. We didn't have much to make it unique, but we did manage to find some natural dye. The red comes from beetroot, she explained as she smiled a little more. We figured you might like it more than if it smelled like the forest. Oh, we heard from Zassiter that vassals like yourself have the potential to grow even more, so we made sure that it was big enough and just folded a little extra material into a neat hem, she explained as she offered the bandana to Jack to see. He was speechless. He never received a gift before. Leaning in, he smelled the bandana curiously. It smelled sweet and earthly, and something else mixed in there too. He let out a low whistle of approval and added, I love it, thank you, he said softly as he stepped closer, Sylvia carefully tying it around his neck with a strong knot. It felt weighty, but also comforting in a way. Jackie looks so cool, Org chirped as she walked around Jack, appraising him from every angle. Jack was getting incredibly flustered at this rate as he fluttered his wings. Well, it was nice seeing ya. Good that you're looking better, kiddo, he commented with a nod. He was fidgeting some more before deciding to give his wings a flap. I should go. I've got my duties. After all, I was just making sure these cats got here all right, he explained, giving himself an out as Sylvia smiled at him. All right, Captain Jack, see you around, she said gently as she stood back up onto her feet. Bye, Jackie. She waved enthusiastically as she went back to her mom's side. With his way out sufficiently established, he flitted off as fast as he could to try and collect himself after all that attention. End of chapter. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, Lord Azrekahl, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon W.R.E, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.